Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Game Nexus. It's Dwayne here. Today we're going to be doing an unboxing for the G.I. Joe role-playing game miniature set number 1. Now I got this thing last month and I haven't had a chance to actually paint them, so I thought I'd do an unboxing and show you guys exactly what you're going to get in the box and just give you some opinions on what I find about them. Now, just going to be a little caveat here. I want to use the word lightly, a seasoned miniature game enthusiast and hobbyist. Over the many years of me being in this type of hobby, I have painted dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds of miniatures. I'm going to try not to let my personal opinion stand in the way what I think is a great product, and just the fact that it exists is actually pretty amazing, actually, if you think about it. I mean, the G.I. Joe role-playing game is not a AAA role-playing game, yet Renegade Game Studios saw fit to embrace the in-person player who is playing G.I. Joe these days by making miniatures, and let's hope they make more. So let's open up the box. First thing I'm going to say is, and this is kind of a menial thing, but I love the packaging. Right off the bat, the packaging on this is really great. Everything that Renegade does is high quality, right from their rule books to their screens. The miniature set is no different. It's a great box. I recommend not throwing it out, and the artwork and everything just screams quality right off the bat. So when you open your miniature set up, you're going to see that you get 12 unpainted. Now, careful on this. I don't believe these are pre-primed. They could be pre-primed. I'm not sure. Like the Wizards of the Coast miniatures, they are a whitish color. So I would expect probably some people are just going to dive in and start painting them as is. Again, I would recommend cleaning and priming these guys prior to painting them. But as you can see, they come in a great little package fit to each figure. So that's another reason why you want to keep the packaging. I'm just going to pull them out here and have a look, and I'll line them up for you guys to see, and then we'll just start diving into the quality of it. So they come pre-assembled, and they actually are on bases. So for those of you who just want to dive in and start using them in your roleplay sessions, there's no glue required. You can leave them unpainted and just start using them right away. They are 28 mil size, so when you're looking at comparison to, I believe they're 28 mil. When you look at comparisons to your D&D minis, they're pretty much on par for that. Not too sure if I like the idea of bases already, but I think that's probably something to do with the sculpts and the way they're printed out. I sometimes like the rounded bases, or I like to do stuff with my bases before I put the figure on the bases. So from a hobby point of view, that's going to be a little bit trickier to do, only because now I have to work around the feet and everything on it. So as you see, you've got 12 figures ranging from some of the more iconic Joes to some of the less recognizable ones, depending on what era of G.I. Joe you followed. You've got your Duke, Scarlet, Snake Eyes, Rock and Roll. You've got Jinx, you've got Gungho, Bazooka, and Mutt and Junkyard. So, I mean, this is to name a few off the top. So definitely a good assortment. Lady J is in there as well. I'm going to actually do a quick little zoom in so you guys can see what these figures look like a little bit up close, and I'll give you my opinion on what I think the build quality is like and what it's going to look like once I start painting them. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go and play a little game and see how many of the Joes I can remember or just identify based on their sculpts unprimed. Because when you prime these miniatures, you're going to see a lot more of the detail than you see now. So I'm doing my best with a macro lens on this to see if you can see some of the details. This is Duke. And I would say that the detail on it from a first glance is actually fairly good. The size of the model gives them room and flexibility to carve out some of the details on the uniform and such. I'm just grateful that I'm not gluing together pouches and such. I'm having nightmares from Marvel Crisis Protocol. So yeah, so this would be your Duke. Next up we got Lady J. And Lady J represents a figure that has some sprue issues, which inevitably creeps into any miniature game these days. So one of the tips I would give you before jumping into painting is run this figure under hot water, bend it to it straight, and then run it under cold water immediately, and then just let that sit for a few seconds, and it should actually go back to the shape that you've held it into. So for any bendable sprues that you see here coming up, just know that that's not a defect or anything like that. That's just the nature of miniature printing. So there's Lady J, complete with her javelin and her baseball hat. And again, I apologize if the macro on this isn't that good. Next up, we've got Mutt and Junkyard. So Mutt and Junkyard. I like Mutt and Junkyard just from an aesthetic point of view. Back in the 80s, he was one of the few Joes that actually introduced a non-green color palette. So I like seeing some red in his character design, so that was kind of cool. And, you know, I liked it with the mask on. It gave him a little bit of a mystery to it. In the cartoon series, once they pulled his mask off, it became kind of less cool. They also played him up as kind of that dumb, you know, kind of, you know, aggressive kind of guy. I know. I like Mutt and Junkyard, so there you go. Next up, we've got Gungho. Oh, no, sorry, this is Flint. So Flint and his iconic beret. Have fun painting that. You know, kind of a counterpart to Duke. And again, I really like the fact that they carved out some of these pouches on his fatigues and stuff. So that looks really cool. And we got Bazooka. I think that's Bazooka. Yeah, that's Bazooka. So very cool figure. Not much to him really, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that they included him. He was a second season G.I. Joe when they started expanding the toy line. So there you go. Everybody's favorite. Oh no, this is CoverGirl. I was going to say this is Scarlet, but this is CoverGirl. So you can tell by her leather jacket and the fact that she's not carrying a crossbow like Scarlet would be. So a very cool sculpt there, and some of the poses are kind of cool. I mean, we're not talking like you know, revolutionary, but I like the fact that not all the Joes have both feet planted on the ground. They've got some dynamic looks to them. CoverGirl as well. There we go, Gungho. Pull them back there for you. So one of the cool things about Gungho, the action figure, little known fact, is that when Gungho was rolled out, me and my friends used to judge the coolness of the Joe characters by their backpacks. And Gungho came with the biggest backpack, big chunk of plastic that you'd put on him. And I always thought that was cool, like to get a really big, beefy backpack on the guy. So for those of you who don't know, all the G.I. Joe figures of the 80s had holes in their back for their backpacks. Which I thought was a neat detail. But Gungho had the biggest one, and yeah, so I'm glad that they included that in his miniature sculpt, albeit he's a little bit more decked out than he was on the action figure. And I think his iconic grenade launcher didn't... Oh, no, it looks like it did make the cut. You have to... yeah, there you go. So you're just going to have to take note of that when you prime it up and give it that due justice. I don't think you're going to get his chest tattoos in there. I'm not too sure on that one. You have to see once you prime it if they add. I don't think they did. Most of the cover art and the book art for Gungho is not revealing his tattoos. Even the box of the miniature game has his fist in front of it. So here we go. This one here, I am not sure who this guy is. I'm going to claim ignorance on this one. It might be Zap. I'm not too sure. Could be Laser Gun. I don't think it is Blowtorch. But there you go. Eek. I already failed you guys there. It could be Blowtorch. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at the box to see exactly who that is. Here we have Jinx. So this is another interesting inclusion. Jinx is the female ninja on the Joe team. I think student of Snake Eyes. I'm not too sure what lore they're following. I don't think it's Snake Eyes' sister, like everybody thinks. I think it's just a student of Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. But yeah, there you go. And she's got that whole sort of a flak look to it with the sprue and the hair and all that. So just make sure that you realize that that's not a defect or a flak from the digital printing or whatever they use, and don't clip that hair off. Other than that, she's actually pretty good. The sword's straight, more or less. Okay, here we have Rock and Roll. And you can tell Rock and Roll always by the big machine gun he's carrying, and you can also see the ammo belts. That's the telltale for Rock and Roll, the big M60 ammo belts that are crisscrossed on him. Of course, his rocking beard and haircut as well. Okay, we got Scarlet. And again, not too much bending required. I think Lady J was the only one that really you'd need to focus on bending. But Scarlet's got her cool pose and her quiver of arrows. Again, I love the detail. They've got holsters. They've got all the little details, straps and stuff. And her crossbow, of course. Not too sure if the crossbow... It looks kind of like it's upside down, but it's not. It's just got a scope on it. I'm not too sure if I like that. I would have liked to have had it look like the the bow part of the crossbow is on the end. As you can see there, they've made it look like it's kind of underneath. But still, the fact that they put a scope on it is kind of cool. And I say the best for last, we got Snake Eyes. Great that they put a dynamic movement pose into him with the 1 foot on the ground. He does have dual blades. I don't think they're curved all that badly. I mean, these are samurai swords or ninja swords. Call them what you will. The ninja swords typically, traditionally, are straight bladed, not curved. But you know, it doesn't matter. So I don't know if you'd really need to straighten that out or anything like that. I think it looks really good. I'll give you a little modeling tip. You're going to be tempted just to splash this guy with black and call it a day, but take time to note some of the details on it, musculature and stuff like that. So maybe do some dry brushing techniques to highlight some of his muscles and that when you get around to painting it with a dark blue. But other than that, pretty cool. I'll challenge anybody to get the Ashikaga symbols on it here, those little red markings, so that'll be a tough one. So there you have it. That's the G.I. Joe RPG Hero Miniature Set number 1. I'm really hoping that at some point Renegade Games actually releases a generic set, which would be really cool. I don't know how they'd pull it off, but maybe some infantry troops, stuff like that. Of course, the enemy set would be really great to see some generic Cobra troopers and such like that. And really, the sky's the limit for this type of product. So let's get out there and support it and hope that they start sculpting some really cool stuff like vehicles, and other stuff like that. But good on you guys at Renegade Game Studios for at least giving us something to use as tangible assets at the table. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll talk to you soon.